Welcome to the Physical Product Movement, a podcast by Fiddle. We share stories of the world's most ambitious and exciting physical product brands to help you capitalize on the monumental change in how, why, and where consumers buy. I'm your host, Ken Ojuka. In this episode of the Physical Product Movement podcast, I have the opportunity to speak with Grace Ventura of Grace's Goodness Organics, a plant-based sipping broth made from simple ingredients like vegetables, wellness herbs, and MCT oil. Her brand focuses on those with an active lifestyle looking for a healthy mini meal or a quick pick-me-up. Grace tells a story of how, as a health and wellness coach, she noticed how food and nutrition was a big area of struggle for her clients. She started brainstorming ways to help more people with this struggle and landed on plant-based sipping broths. Her brand had humble beginnings, and I enjoyed hearing the story of her jumping in her van with a mattress and cases of her product to sell to retail stores around the country. Grace explains the importance of authenticity behind the brand and how customers can feel the intention and energy in the brand's products. She also talks about how entrepreneurs need to take care of themselves and make time to get away and reboot. She also talks about how important it is to surround yourself with supportive people who will encourage and help you along your journey. Grace was a wonderful guest with a lot of important wisdom to share. I hope you enjoy the interview. All right. Hey, Grace, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I can tell we're going to have a great conversation because you're actually named, you have the same name as one of my favorite people in the world. And that's my mom. My mom also has 6 kids. So I can tell we'll get along just fine.
God. That's pretty amazing.
Well, where are you joining me from?
Currently, I'm along the Arkansas River in beautiful Buena Vista, Colorado. Enjoying this just gorgeous area.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's kind of been a spontaneous trip, just to take some time, get out in nature a little bit.
Yeah, I have to do these things regularly, as regularly as possible. And this one was inspired by a birthday. So I am taking this time, what I call kind of like a mini vision quest and a reboot for myself. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Grace, we usually kick off the podcast with a quote, maybe something that motivates you, gets you out of bed, inspires you. Is there anything that you could share with us?
Yes, well, there are so many. It's so hard to hone it right in. But the one that I chose because this is how I started this business. This is the quote that I had right on my screen of my computer. And it's, if you build it, they will come. And it's not just anything, I think. But I think that when you build something from the heart, from one's truth and your passion, it will manifest. People want it. And I think it's because on some level, whether they're conscious of it or not, they receive that intention, that heartfelt truth and passion. So I think it's really important to be thoughtful about what you're doing, and what you're doing, why you're doing it, because whether people are conscious of it or not, they will get the message of your intention on some level.
Yeah.
And I just have one other thing I want to say about that, because it went into another quote that happened from a customer early on. And what they said to me is they felt like when they drank this broth, they were being hugged from the inside out. And I welled up because when I heard that, I knew that my intention was being received through the product. And it was an extension of my mission and my heart. And I was just so touching that it was experienced in that way. So,
wow. No, that's deep. We went right into the deep end of the pool. And I love
Welcome to my world.
it. Yeah, I have a feeling that's where you live, you know. It's interesting that you said that quote, because I was listening to Steve Jobs, an interview of Steve Jobs, and he actually talked about that with the products that he was making at Apple, and he felt that he wanted to hire people who were passionate and creative and thoughtful, and he felt that those intentions, to use your words, found their way into the products, and then people who would use those products would feel those as well. Very similar to the quote that you had from one of your customers. And it's interesting, you use some Apple products and you can just tell there's a depth to it. There's definitely a point of view. There's a passion, but you can kind of feel that in some of their products. It's interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I remember conversations with just a few people over the years where some people are Apple users, some people are not. And the people that are Apple users, they kind of get it. I don't want to, put anyone or anything in a box, but there's a certain creative vibration about it, I guess. I don't know, or just the way that it's put together. It just makes sense for me. Anyway, I'm an Apple user.
Well, that's another reason why I'm happy to be talking to you, Grace. I'm also an Apple user, and I'm a big fan of the company. So. Well, let's jump right into it. So you've told us just a little bit about your company, Grace's Goodness. You make different organic broths, but I kind of just want for somebody out there who's never heard of your company, why don't you just tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. Well, they are organic, on-the-go veggie broths with wellness benefits. So there's currently 3 varieties, Immune, Vitality, and Better Belly. And they're all just simple, organic vegetables and herbs, as well as MCT, which is a derivative of coconut oil, and nutritional yeast. They're low sodium, they have no sugar, no chemicals, and they're just a really simple product that is good for you. And it comes from the goodness of the earth. It's just plants, and even the MCT I consider, from coconut oil.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a very simple product that all you need is boiling water in a mug, put in 8 ounces boiling water, stir it, and you have a cup of broth. So they're great to take to, on the road, or just having a snack to kind of get you from breakfast to lunch or lunch to dinner. They're great traveling, in the deserts of the airports, food deserts. It's great to have something that's nourishing and yummy and simple and satiating. It's surprising to me how satiating it is. So you can have it as it is, or you can create with them. And I could say a lot about that. My daughters and I, they originally had helped me create the brand and come up with the formulas, we discovered so many recipes and so many things we could do with it. It was such a versatile product that I can make a 5-minute meal by adding veggies and noodles and, whatever, poaching eggs and making a breakfast soup. So there are lots of different things. And then we discovered you could put it in juice and making dips. And so, as I said, I could talk for a while about that.
No, that's great. That's great. And I actually I'm very curious about the backstory here, and so just looking at your bio a little bit, it looks like you come from the services industry, that you've been a health coach for many years. How do you make yourself or how do you get yourself from that, and then eventually, coming to launch a CPG brand? So I want to hear a little bit about that journey.
Well, I've been a health and wellness coach, a massage therapist, a yoga teacher, and a mom of 6 for over 35 years. My main focus has been supporting people in self-care. So I've done things like worked a lot with nutrition And my former husband is a chiropractor, so I was really in that wellness industry in a very deep way, and the service industry. So I've also done a lot with teaching cooking, vegan, vegetarian, raw foods. I've been a personal chef. I love cooking. I love creating with food. It's one of my arts, I consider. And I basically one day was feeling really under the weather, and I just was craving my own soup. And at the time, my youngest of six, he was about 16 at the time, he was living with me, and I knew he wasn't going to make anything for me. So I thought, how can I have my own soup anytime, anywhere? And this was a 4 a.m. kind of thing that was happening.
Got it.
I think some of our best ideas come at 4 a.m. Anyway, so I looked at grocery stores and what was on the shelves, and I saw bouillon and aseptic containers of broths. And at the time, it was bone broth hadn't even come on in our view yet. That wasn't what was up. But there were soups and bouillons, and everything was loaded with sodium and chemicals and just junk. And I'm a purist. I don't want to put something in my body that isn't going to be nourishing and yummy and organic. And yeah, I'm not, every so often, whatever, but I'm saying overall, that's how I live. And I wouldn't want to give anyone else that, especially in someone that was helping to support people in their wellness. I don't want to give them junk.
Right.
So I came up with the idea of dehydrated vegetables and herbs because I knew that dehydration is one of the best ways to preserve the nutritional value of food. So that was a no-brainer for me. And then I started doing the research and, diving in, speaking to people, connections that I had, and finding out about the industry and what it would take to actually get a product out there. And it has been quite the journey.
And did you think about, had you been thinking maybe I could actually, productize this, or, a lot of people, you got your recipes and something that you make for yourself, but, what was the impetus? I mean, for, hey, this could actually be a business, or this is something that I could sell to other people?
Well, honestly, what I had done was one of my daughters and I, Anji, one of them, she lived out in Boulder, and I was on the East Coast. And I said, hey, you want to play with me and see what we can create? And my other daughter, Galadriel, is an herbalist, and she was out in Arizona. And she came up with the herbal combinations, and Anji and I took about a year, and we created, I ordered organic dehydrated vegetables, and I put them in my Vitamix, and I just create things in my kitchen. And because we knew that, it's a great idea. There was nothing like it out there. There still isn't really anything that's a functional, organic vegan product like that that's just add hot water. And so we created the recipes, and then, I got a lot of encouragement from folks that are in the industry, as well as friends. And my brother, who never really, I'm a creative and I come up with many things. I'm an artist as well. And so I love creating, and I would tell him things and he'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And then he's a finance guy. And when I shared with him this idea after my awakening at 4 a.m., I called him at 9 and I said, hey, what do you think of this idea? And he paused and he said, I actually think you have something. And I was in tears, I remember, because I knew I got it. It was like, oh, you mean this kind of, okay, all right. So you think so, then maybe that's really true. Not that he's God, but, I trusted, I trusted his judgment. And
Yeah.
I spoke with many people and I shared it with them. They said, wow, that's an amazing idea. And people still say it, that's an amazing idea because it doesn't exist and it's something that's needed. It's something that even, has a long shelf life. It's lightweight. It's easy to ship. It's has great margins. Of course, I didn't know that back then, but I got so much encouragement that I just went for it. And it was in my heart to do it because I really wanted to support people in their wellness, on their wellness journey. And I knew what being a health coach was like. I knew it was, it's spending hours and it's like, if I could get, this one packet and share this packet and somehow people's brains and nervous system recognize goodness and good food and their bodies say yes, then that's one step closer to them feeling good. And I feel like it's our birthright.
Right.
So did I answer your question is the question?
Yeah, I think you did. And it's interesting with the CPG products. Obviously, you're somebody that cares about people and wants to serve them and help, and just in what you've done for your career. And it's interesting that you can kind of going back to your quote earlier, you can kind of infuse some of that same spirit and that help, that intention into your product. And then the great thing about having a product, a CPG product, is that you can just help a lot more people than you could if you were meeting with them one-on-one,
That's right. Yeah. I mean, and I did that most of my career. Most of my career life that's what I've done. I love doing it. I love doing body work. I do, cranial work. I could go down that rabbit hole, but I'm not going to. And I do, it's always been very specific in like rehab kind of work and then nutrition. When I became a health coach through IIN, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, I really was bridging and bringing everything together that I was doing. And the food piece is a huge piece in people's lives. So that's where, even in the brand, I've continued that wellness support. As I mentioned to you, that, I've been doing this reboot program twice a year and offering it for very little because I wanted to be able to really support people in a deeper way. And it's holistic, and the whole program comes from the intention of love and kindness. So loving kindness towards yourself and how you feed yourself, not only what you feed yourself, but how you're feeding yourself. And that really extends beyond food. That extends into our environment. What kind of environment, because we pick up on our environment anywhere. Be in nature, you feel one way. Be in a crowded city, on a train, on a subway, you're going to feel another way. It's everything that's around us is what we take it in to our bodies, the chemicals. That's why all the toxicity in so many forms, we feel it not only on a physical level, but atomically, energetically. That's what we're made of. And so it's so important that we can, as best we can, and I think it's a practice, bring that loving kindness towards ourselves first in our self-care, and then we can extend it out into our families, our relationships, our communities, the planet, and towards the earth, how we're treating this earth. This is I like calling it our mama. And how are we taking care of it? How are we giving back? What do we take in? What do we give back on all levels? So
yeah.
That's what the
great.
reboot that whole reboot is about for me. But it's, it has a whole comprehensive food plan and all of that. But then I like bringing other guests in and, just supporting people as best that I can.
So you said that you do that twice a year. The next one's in the fall? Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah. Next one, I'll do one in the fall.
And so is that just for anybody, or, like if somebody was interested in it, how would they get a hold of you and sign up for that?
Yeah, it's for anybody. I made it very user friendly. So, well, one thing I'll just elaborate a little bit about the program, because I think that I've done, as a health coach, I've done supported people in cleanses and all sorts of, just shifting their diets, but also wanting to feel well, wanting to feel that natural vitality and goodness that I think we all could feel. And it doesn't take a lot, though our brains have been trained to, have the typical American diet so much that, and run, and, or not eat enough, or just there's so many different ways of how people use food, either just to become aware of how they're doing that. So that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And then what they're eating. So I have a comprehensive 3 weeks that we start where someone is. You start where you are, wherever you are. And there isn't like this ultimate, well, if you don't do A, B, and C, then you have failed. This whole reboot. It's more of a, hey, if you make one change, one shift, like not having caffeine, which is a huge thing, or not eating sugar, which is another huge thing. That's amazing. I try to do it. It's not so much about taking things away, and, it's bringing things in that are good too. So your question of, that's the who. So it's anybody really that's sure. on a wellness journey and wants to really wants to up level their health and wellness. And I think in these times, it's an imperative. You have to have a strong immune system. And the way to get there is that holistic approach is the way to get there. Again, I could talk a lot, but I'm going to now give you my information. You can reach me at Grace at gracesgoodness.com.
Okay, great. Well, I wanted to just get into a little bit about your journey with getting this product out to market, your initial customers, retail strategy, those types of things about your actual product, right? And it sounds like you've got pretty good distribution, throughout Boulder and different parts of Colorado. And is that mainly retail? Is that like health shops, or what's been your approach?
So when we first launched, and we launched as Beyond Broth, which was 6 years ago.
Okay.
And that was me, forging my path out there, not knowing a whole lot of what I was doing, and getting incredible support. And so back then, it started as e-com, so it was D2C. Mm-hmm. I went on Amazon and did that route. Had my website. You had also asked me way back when about actually making that decision to bring the product up, and it just reminded me that first I had like 180 packets of each that we hand filled. And ground all of the vegetables into powder, and that was a lot of work. And
I love the early days. It's always so scrappy and interesting what you have to do to get something off the ground.
Yeah. Me and my daughter, we got in there and did it together. And we basically put it on the website with a feedback form. And we got such amazing feedback, and that's really what inspired me. And then I went to a co-packer because I knew I couldn't do this myself.
Right.
So the initial thing I did was found a co-packer in Denver, and they had their minimum runs, which were doable. I had gotten some investment because I really didn't have anything. I was starting a new life. I literally drove across the country in my van, and I had a bed in my van. I still have the van, and it's with me here as I take my trips, because I just, there's something about getting on the open road that is not only magical and mystical and enlightening, but it's just so free. It's just, there's a freedom, and I create so much when I'm out there. It's amazing to me. So I got on the road, drove out to Colorado, landed in Boulder, and found the co-packer, hooked up with Naturally Boulder, who were just incredible support. And so many people there. I could just go down lists of, oh my goodness, how much support I received. I was blown away, in tears often.
Yeah, it's interesting.
My heart.
Yeah, it's interesting you say this. I mean, I hear this about Boulder. So Boulder's kind of the mecca for these types of products, right? Like healthy, organic, and just and I wonder what it is. Maybe you. I didn't mean to cut you off, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit about what you think it is about Boulder that attracts that type of person.
Oh my gosh! Well, it's, first of all, it's an amazing life here. The lifestyle is so in alignment with what I want and need, which is nature, the mountains, the rivers, the hot springs. It's just so vast and beautiful. The whole state of Colorado. It's not just Boulder. But Boulder, there's a lot of young startup energy in Boulder too. Right. And I think that brings a lot. I think CU brings a lot of that energy too. There's that, and all of the wonderful things. And then, some of the biggest food brands started here, White Wave and Justin's and Celestial Seasonings. And, they're all these big, because I think those people wanted this lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. And it really brought in a lot of folks, because all people that are in that healthy food industry want to be in a healthy place. It's kind of like that.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's sort of like, I'm a tech guy, and so I'm always watching Silicon Valley and, just the companies that come out of Silicon Valley. And, it's like Boulder is the Silicon Valley for health foods, and health brands, in a lot of ways. So anyway, I think that's amazing. And, you've said it several times on this podcast, just the support that you've received, as you put this intention into the world. And I love that. And I wonder if there's anything that you think maybe helped to build that kind of network. I just know that a lot of times when you come up with a new idea and you're trying to do something new, the feedback you get is often not actually the support. It's in great contrast to your experience. Do you think there's anything that you did that helped with that, or if somebody's struggling with that, where they want to get something off the ground, but they feel like they don't have that support, what they could do in order to find the support that they need?
Well, what comes to my mind is something that one of my board members has said to me repeatedly, which is that I am the brand. I am the brand, and I have to live the brand, and I do. And the brand is, I'm very transparent. I'm very open. And I think like I would go into a store when I first start. So I'm back on how I kind of got off the ground. I'm kind of toggling back and forth. I could see.
No, that's great.
Is that when I first approached stores, I would just walk in a store. So I went to the East Coast because that's where I'm from. And I went back to my roots, and I would walk into a store and I would share the product, and it was 2 minutes and it was sold. And I thought, wow, I mean, I used to think that's how easy it would always be. Now I could laugh and say, ha ha ha, not so much. But I would walk into a store and they would get it. They would get what the brand is because they got me, they got my passion, they got the meaningfulness of it, and that it was heartfelt. It was really true. It was in my integrity. I'm very aligned with it. And I think it's important that you are 150% behind what you do from your heart, that you know, whether it's something that you know it's going to improve the lives of people or this planet. I think so important to have mission and purpose and something that is your inspiration from the inside out. You know, something that you just, you know, it's that important. And I think that makes the difference in brands that do really well, or, you know, even I don't want to say that if a brand fails, it's that they were lacking it, because I don't think that's true. I think that it could be ahead of its time. I think it could be, you know, there could be many reasons why something isn't working. But you asked me the question about, you know, how someone could get something out there. And I think that passion is number one. That purpose and mission is number one. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know, I think, you know, I misspoke. I assume that you launched this from Boulder. Is that correct? Or did you actually launch it from the East Coast?
Oh, no. I was in Boulder and I flew back to the East Coast and I visited, and I would go into co-ops and stores and, you know, try to sell it because I wasn't in retail yet. And I started, that's how I started though. And then I went to the West Coast and visited a friend in just north of San Francisco. And I went into stores up there like Community Market and these small stores, and visited my son up in Northern California and got into more. And I collected about 25 stores. And then I came back and I started, we got into Alfalfa's, which was our first to market store, which sadly is no longer around in the Boulder area. Well, it's not around, period. And then Lucky's Market. And then I got into natural grocers and went from there. You know, I went on another month-long trip, because the initial month-long trip when I got out here, my dream was that I was going to go and have broth. This is what I thought I could do. I could have this product and go across country and go sell it out of my van.
And so you just loaded cases in the back of your van and drove?
That's what I did on that second 1 month trip, because that was my dream. And I called it my broth and bathe tour, because I went to Hot Springs. I went to Hot Springs and I camped in my van, and I went into stores and did demos that we were already in. And then I went to stores I had never been to and got in, and I got into the Hot Springs, into their little shops. And that's how I started. It was the best trip of my life, I have to say, so far. It was so, just on so many levels, it was very powerful, and just joy, total joy. It was wonderful. So that was the second 1 month journey. And now I just take minis because I can't go away for that long. at this point. But yeah, and then we relaunched. So we rebranded in last year.
And what? Yeah, tell us a little bit about the motivation behind that.
So one of my initial, I don't know if I should. I'll just say one of my initial investors, aside from my brother and a couple of other folks in Kickstarters, and so I've gone through doing all those kind of things in the beginning as well. And one of my investors, who is the lead investor, or was going to then become the lead, said to me, "Well, if you want me to invest, you need a CEO," because he knew that I didn't come from this place of ever having a CPG product. And I, of course, learned a tremendous amount in that first 3 years or so. And I was just, every day I felt like I was doing something I had never done before, every single day. And I think that still, in some regards, happens with experiences, conversations, talking to investors, talking to, trying to raise money and all of that.
Right.
But he said that to me, and I said, great, because I don't know how to scale it. So I'm happy to have someone come in. And he hooked me up with Sarah Bird, who has been our CEO for the past 2.5 years, and really helped with this incredible board that we also have, and other support to bring the business where it is today. And part of that was to do the rebrand. And we rebranded for a couple of reasons. One is we wanted to go beyond broth, pun intended. We see the brand as a platform brand that, there are other products under the Grace's goodness, bringing goodness to people. I see it as a, functional, organic, good food. So last year, we wanted to go beyond broth, and we wanted to change the packaging, and we made it more modern and the stick packs. And there were, at the time, I probably shouldn't go down this road too far, but we were kind of being associated with Beyond Meat a little bit.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And that wasn't my intention at all. And actually, we had the name before that. But hey, they're big. We're bitty, very small. But that was all fine. And I actually love the transformation to Grace's goodness, because I think it's not about me, but it's about that, bringing those moments of grace into your life.
Yeah. And
that was part of the sense of what we're sharing, and the goodness that we want people to have in their lives. Okay. So that was another big reason, and that's where we landed. Grace's goodness.
Well, it's a great name, and like you said, it gives you some flexibility to go in a bunch of different directions, should you want to.
Yeah.
And so, along those lines, as we get ready to wrap here, you guys are coming out with a new flavor here pretty soon. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So it's called Mindful Mushroom, and it's with vegetables as well. And it's another, just add hot water and get nourished. There are vegetables. There's 4 really awesome mushrooms included in it. And each serving has 4,500 milligrams of nutrient-dense functional mushrooms and 1,100 milligrams of beta-glucan. And they do have MCT as well. But it's just so good. I'm so excited about it. It's a fabulous one, and we're still waiting on the ingredient issues, the supplier issues, and we're just waiting on one more ingredient.
Yeah.
But it's coming soon. And for the first launch of it, it will be on the website at gracesgoodness.com and also on Amazon. So that's where we'll start. And so we'll start D2C. And then as the stores pick it up, it will be on the store finder on the website. You can also go to Instagram and follow us and find lots of information, delicious recipes that we regularly post with all the wonderful things you could do with the broth. And Facebook, social media. You could sign up for the newsletter on the website, and we send out a newsletter that's really rich with self-care and wellness support, as well as recipes and coupons. So.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm on your website now, and I'm looking at the buy local map. And you zoom out and you look at the entire United States, and you just see dots everywhere. And I think it's pretty amazing. I don't know. If I were you, I would just pull that up. If you're feeling down ever, just look at that. That's quite the accomplishment. That's amazing.
Well, so. It is. This is not an easy road. I will say that, and it's the challenge is just to keep growing, and I trust that wherever it lands. Whatever we're doing, however it all goes with any of our businesses, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball, but I think just staying in your own truth and what is important, everything just will turn out just fine.
Yeah. So Grace, I appreciate the conversation so far. I think, we've got a pretty good sense of your journey and your brand and just the authenticity behind it. I wanted to just kind of switch a little bit. Obviously, getting your product into all these different stores and, just production and marketing, it's not free, right? It costs money. What's your fundraising journey been like, and how did you do that, especially in the early days? And are you guys, fundraising now or anytime soon in the future?
Great question. It's the topic that I think a lot of folks have a very challenging time with, because the CPG industry is expensive. It takes a lot of capital to really be able to thrive. So in the early days, my first investor was friends and family. So that's where it started, was friends and family. And I did some crowdfunding. I did a few, actually, of rounds of crowdfunding.
Like Kickstarter? And did you do something else other than Kickstarter?
Yep. There was also one called Pie Shell, and they're no longer in business, but they serviced more of the CPG, food industry.
Okay, yeah.
And then Kickstarter, and I feel like I did one more, and I'm blanking on the name of it. And then I got more investment from friends and family. And then where I had mentioned the person who became my lead investor, he came in and brought in a cohort of folks.
Okay, got it.
And that's how it started. But it really was that they believed in me and they believed in the brand. And that's, I only really would want anyone investing who believes in the brand and the mission and is in alignment with it and supports it. And all of the folks that we have as investors do. They all do. And we are, again, raising. I think it's, do you ever stop raising money? I hope so.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling. That's for sure.
Yeah. But it's, everything is just so costly, and it just costs a lot to make a product. It really does. And and we are in the middle of a raise and happy to, receive any communications from anyone and talk about it and share our deck. Again, my email, grace@gracesgoodness.com, is a great place to reach out.
No, and we just came off a raise as well, and it is constant, and I think that anybody listening that has the desire to become a successful CPG brand has to get used to it and has to get good at that process of telling your story and asking people to come along for the ride. So
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely
it's an imperative.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because you have this big mission, and it's going to take some fuel to get there, and
we can't do it alone either. I think back in the other day, far from here, people did more on their own, and I think now we really have to support each other more and come together and do things together. And it's not just about me. It's about us, and it's about doing this together. And I think that's what happens when you're raising money too, is that your investors, you're all part of it, in it together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting, we just, like I said, we just raised a little bit, and I was talking to somebody close to me who expressed interest in getting involved. And, they explained to me just what the market looks like right now, so we're in June, 2022. And, he said, look, I've got money in the bank, and I know that inflation is crazy and it's, just eating away at it. So I'm losing money if I just keep it in the bank. And then he said that the stock market, he's, lost his shirt in the stock market over the last while. And then, he's not a crypto guy. But all the crypto people are also saying the same thing, which is, crypto is, it's in bad shape right now. And so he was interested in investing in startups. And so, he saw that as like just a better place to put his money, and so it was interesting in that it wasn't even like I had to pitch him that hard. It was that like, he's actively looking for a better place to put his money, and so hopefully that encourages, anybody that's out there raising right now that just put it out there. There are a lot of people who will respond positively, and want to get involved.
Yeah, I think investing in things that for the good are it's the way to go. I actually, it's funny, it just inspired a quote that I came up with the other day. I think that eating crap and junk food is going to become obsolete. Because the planet or the people is not going to be, it's not sustainable. So
interesting.
Go for goodness. Go for goodness.
I agree. I like that. Well, let's hop into the quick fire round, and then we'll wrap. I've just got 4 quick questions for you. What's one tool or resource that you feel has helped you the most in your career?
I would say what I would call my embodiment practices. So things like dance and doing yoga and being in nature. I get fed. I just feel so fed by those things. And
yeah, that's great. And what's one book or blog or something that you feel has helped you out?
Well, of late, I mean, there's so many. It's a hard thing, and to name one, but a person that I feel very inspired by these days is Joanna Macy. And she has a wonderful, I know she has it's a redone edition, reissued, World as Lover, World as Lover. I can't remember the rest of it, but anyway, she's really about bringing spirituality and climate change into bringing them together. And wow, she's an idol, a model for me about what we can be and the reflection of what's inside of us and how we're metaphors for this planet and what's happening in all of life, and how it's just all tied together. And we need to realize that we are all of it. We're all part of it, and it's all part of us. And loving kindness, that's where my message is loving kindness.
Yeah. So Joanna Macy, World as Lover, World as Self. I believe that's the book.
Yes. And it's fabulous. I'm a fan.
And then just a couple more questions. What is one piece of advice that you would give your 21-year-old self?
Oh, well, I have a 25-year-old, so it's not too far off. Stay true to your heart.
I like it.
Don't believe the thoughts in your head and the beliefs that are all around you. You have to go by your inner navigation. So find your way into your inner navigation to guide you, and listen deeply to yourself. Listen by slowing down and being quiet.
And then who is one person in your field of work, or another brand or entrepreneur that you look up to, that you would love to take for lunch?
Oh, that's a really good one. Okay. There are many. Another thing that there are many of. There are so many brands. I love Patagonia. I really appreciate what they're doing in the world. I think the guy who owns it is Jay. Anyway, I love that brand, and I really appreciate the Four Sigmatic brand. So these are brands that are like my idols that I want to become like someday. So those are Patagonia is fabulous. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the people who listen to this podcast, they're people who are maybe aspiring, CPG brand owners, or they're currently running a CPG brand, and they're kind of in the grind, and the roller coaster of this journey, and just so many ups and downs, and victories and some failures. What would you give to somebody that's in the middle of that right now? What advice would you give them? About that maybe something that you applied to your journey and this helped you out.
Well, I think fear and worry is just a destroyer. And I think if you don't take care of yourself, that a number one priority, truly, no matter if you are in the service industry, in the CPG industry, the government, anything. It's like, if you're not, you have to take care of yourself first. Make the time. I think what makes people not take care of themselves is their fear and worry, that there's so much anxiety and fear that something's going to fail, that they have to do it 24/7. And if they walk away from it, it's going to go away. Well, it isn't. It really isn't. On the contrary, if you walk away, you might actually give it some space to grow. So I think that fear and doubt and worry is just really destroys our humanity and our nervous system, our hearts, and relationships. I think it really, I could keep going in this direction, but I think that's the biggest thing, is to find that thing that really brings you joy, and make sure that you do that thing, and you support yourself in a holistic way. But that one, I think fear is really, it really hurts us. Instead, go with your love. Go with what's in your heart and what is in your integrity every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Thank you. Thank you, Grace. I think that is wonderful words to end on. I just want to thank you for taking time away from your trip and, just jamming with me here for an hour or so. This has been fantastic to hear your journey.
It has been wonderful to hang out with you. And I look forward to just what comes up next, hearing what's on your show and what's happening all over. So thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. The Physical Product Movement Podcast is brought to you by Fiddle. To find out more about Fiddle and how our industry-leading inventory ops platform is giving modern brands and manufacturers full visibility into their inventory and operations, visit fiddle.io. And then make sure to search for Physical Product Movement in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Fiddle, thanks for listening.